Welcome to the Savvy Spirit Podcast. I'm Sharon Moore, your host and creator of the Savvy Spirit Entrepreneur Program. This podcast features conscious women entrepreneurs whose businesses are built on their unique gifts and are making the world a better place. You're going to learn about their journeys, their courage, their resilience, and their truth. So enjoy the show, feel the love, and get inspired. Okay, welcome back, everybody. So today we are spending time with Heather Rogers. Now, Heather, my friends, is a magician, but not just any magician, a magician who uses her very unique skill of magic making to make the world a better place, to connect people to each other, to connect people to their work, to connect people to the magic inside of themselves. She's delivered magical programs for over 4,000 events. And you guys, she has almost 100 reviews on Yelp, all of which, 100%, are 5-star reviews. She's a magician, a comedian, an entertainer, a motivational speaker, an intuitive business coach, and a facilitator of workshops. People, she makes magic. So let's put our hands together and welcome mind magician Heather Rogers to the show. Yay!
Awesome. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Heather. I couldn't help but imagine I'm introducing a magician to a room full of 5,000 people.
Absolutely. Or more.
Or more, exactly. So, hi, Heather, mind magician. So good to have you here.
Well, thanks. It's so exciting to be here. I love what you're up to and the contribution that you're making for women in business. It's amazing.
Well, really, it's going to be you making the contribution, but thank you. Can we just start with how did this happen? How do you find yourself being a magician?
Well, like many, I ran away with the circus.
Of course, like everybody.
Yes. I don't know if you remember San Francisco's Pickle Family Circus. Some people do. They were a local one-ring, no-animal circus that started in the 70s. They kind of came out of the San Francisco mime troupe. And I ran away with them as their first technical apprentice. They had never had one. And it was lovely. It was 1989, and I was 20. And we just, I learned lots of things. I saw really high level skill. And I was so inspired by the discipline, by the physicality, by the vision, by the collaboration. And there are a lot of amazing female circus performers just showing up and making their magic. So it started that way.
And were you already involved with magic or performing, or what got you to even run away with the circus?
Yeah, it's interesting. I started quite late in magic, in my late 20s. Most kids start when they're like 3. They get the kit, right? And they've been doing it for a long time. But I started kind of late. And I'll loop ahead really quickly and say it took me a decade before I stopped feeling like a fraud. And there's a whole conversation to have around women and their power. We know the witch burnings lasted 500 years. And so what we're doing here is it's in our DNA, it's in our cells, this thing of like, am I safe? Can I speak up? And so I had that. And it took just by putting in the hours, showing up, and, eventually the law of averages says, well, I guess you're a magician. This is how you made your living for this many years. So, so I was just studying theater at a junior college at Laney, and I saw the ad in Callboard at the time for a tech apprentice, and I interviewed, and I didn't even know it was a circus. I thought it was a theater company called that, and they're like, we're a circus. And so then I did that, and it was lovely, and I learned a lot. And then I had wanted to be a performer, though. Already then I was studying theater. So to spend 7 years as a freelance theater tech was the beginning of the challenge. I gained 25 pounds. I started eating badly. I lost myself. You can lose yourself, right? Driving a bleacher truck and setting up circuses and taking them down. So I lost myself, and so I spent a few years just kind of bumping, reception. And then I ended up driving a school bus for 7 years in San Francisco, the big old crowns up and down those highways. And we had a great time. Not
an easy job.
No. And it really, I got real comfortable with kids. I wasn't sure if kids were, going to be liking me, but they do. Now, before I got the school bus driving job, I actually had a great job called the Clown Mobile. It was a City of Oakland run program where for 3 years in the summer we would go to all the rec centers in Oakland and teach clown skits and skills and leave all the kids with a nose and so that was already going. So it was a little clowning, but then I drove a school bus for 7 years, building up, doing clown work on the side.
Wow.
And my clown name was Starko the Clown, and she wiggled her butt, and she was Starko the Clown.
Wow.
So in any case, so I drove the bus, and then came time for me to leave, and I was terrified to leave. And this is kind of my story, and I tell it in my keynote because I'm a speaker in terms of empowering people with the mind and that. And I end the story doing a torn and restored card, in which I talk about our dream, and someone signs the card, and I just shred the card, and then I perfectly restore it. And so the story I tell is, I gained the 25 pounds in the circus, and then one day I was driving and I couldn't get enough air into my lungs. And by this time I was eating a candy bar every 45 minutes. I was pre-diabetic, right?
Whoa.
Could not stop. And the bugs, right? The bugs kind of get you. Mm-hmm. And so I kept grabbing the steering wheel to get air. And for 2 weeks, I just could hardly breathe. And so that was really a panic attack saying, you have to leave. Mm-hmm. I know you have and by the way, I'll do a little back rewind and say I didn't want to leave technical theater either, and that's why I spent 2 years kind of lost, because I just didn't think I had low self-esteem. I grew up, the youngest of five. My dad was a carpenter, my mom was a carpenter's wife, so I didn't have the self-esteem. So leaving technical theater, even though I was earning $7.50 an hour, risking my life on high beams, focusing hot instruments, I just didn't know what else. And so the courage to leave technical theater and sort of, kind of float before I became a school bus driver was hard. And then the courage to leave school bus driving and go full-time as a magician was hard, because I was leaving my medical, dental, 401k. It was a union position, and it was hard. It took that for me to let go and to do it. And honestly, it's been very difficult. I've been a full-time magician and speaker for 17 years, and I didn't have financial education from my rearing, and so it's just been a really long journey, and it's built me, though. I have to find a new employer every day for one-offs.
Yeah.
I have to get in front of my computer. Some days I stand in front of my computer at my desk for 17 hours trying to get a gig.
Yeah.
Right. And it's okay, because when I am with my audience, people ask me, Heather, how did you get the gig performing for Hillary Clinton? And I say, well, when I was talking to the gentleman about it, I said, without apology, I said, I endeavor to send love into people's hearts with every syllable I speak. And he said, all right. You're hired for that. And that's what happens. When I'm in front of an audience, this is my chance to ignite their hearts on a cellular level. And that's what I do as a magician all these years. And so when I restored that card, boom, I didn't say that when I was driving the school bus, I gained 25 more pounds. So then I had a 50-pound, thing to lose. And so in terms of the miracles, I mean, I know you always like to inquire, what helped us move into the uncomfortable to know that we were supported by the universe. That's a question that you've asked. Mm-hmm. And I say, like most people, I didn't know I was supported. As my story tells, I had a crisis of faith, and it made the journey harder, and months rolled into years when it was hard. But, it turned out that I was supported. And you have a question? You want to say something?
Well, I was going to say, do you feel like that has helped you pay more attention to the signs before it gets to the point of crisis?
True that. Yeah, I study business a lot. I love all the Jim Collins books, Built to Last, Great by Choice, From Good to Great. They're all great. And he says, know your risk profile, and knowing your risk profile is going to change. Mm-hmm. And when I coach, I'm an intuitive business coach, and I always have people know what their risk profile is, and that helps them make decisions. There's so many amazing principles in that regard, and just living in that. Like, I teach people how to live in the miracle zone, and so I need to be keenly aware of the miracles in my life. And for example, I joined I did a 12-step program 13 years ago, and I maintained a 50-pound weight loss.
You've just said. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, for that length of time, I found the discipline. Another miracle is I decided, I committed myself to a spiritual path, and I did not miss a day of meditation for 10 years.
Wow.
And there were times when I would have a keynote in the morning and I'd have 2 hours sleep because I was preparing for the keynote. And one of those hours went to my sit because it was a non-negotiable. And I did that 10 years, and it turned out it was time to change. And so I now moved into more of a softer realm, but getting to the gym at 4:30 most every day is a miracle. And all these are not just me, right? We're in cahoots with a power that is greater than us, I would say.
Oh, yeah. You just said so many words that I'm like jumping for joy over here. Miracles. And let's just sum it up, too, that I absolutely love. Miracles and love. I mean, if we could have the conviction, we collective could have the conviction for love that we do for anxiety and fear, we'd be in a different place today. Which reminds me of Hillary Clinton. Okay, I'm so curious. Do you get nervous before you get up there?
It's really interesting. I have learned to live with terror. It's terrifying, and I'll write a keynote the night before. My life is such that it's that way, and I've learned techniques. It's like you have to go in and, I don't want to give away too much, but at the end of my show, someone pulls, I've done a lot of mind reading with someone, and someone pulls an envelope off the wall and they read a list of predictions that this person's going to say. Or that I know about this person. And that requires so much research and lead work and sleuthing. And so I've learned techniques, about, I never work without a net, in that when you look at my props they're stacked on a little table near me. There are little notes on every prop. And it's my breadcrumb trail. Like when I pick up that prop, I look at the little note and I know what's next. And I'm working with and without a net, but I've got the main topics I speak, but I love to customize because I love to meet people where they are, and love them. So yeah, it's terrifying. And I've just learned to live with that. And that's, Mother Teresa wrote in her diary how disappointed she was with her and how much fear she had, but she did it anyway.
Yeah. And so does it vary when you've got a gig like Hillary Clinton versus, something a little smaller, or is there any sort of variable regarding who the audience is, or it's the same?
Very glad you asked that. It's interesting. No matter how much I'm getting paid, I dedicate the same amount, no matter what kind of event it is, rate wise. So, but certain events are much harder, like a close-up magic gig. Oh my God, I just get to walk in with my pockets filled, and and I have the champagne glass with a bubble blower, and I just approach someone. I say, "May I make a miracle for you?" And I blow a large soap bubble and I pluck it out of the air. It turns into a crystal ball in midair.
Wow.
And then I roll it around my body. I bounce it on my fingertips. I actually bounce it on my forehead and bring my heel up to my ear right there in a close-up magic situation. We love it, but it's just so much less difficult than lugging the PA and the sound cue system and all the props and setting up the props and memorizing the script. And I'll get paid sometimes more to do the close-up.
And you must get to see, I didn't realize the official term for it is close-up, but doing a close-up, you must, you said you worked with kids at a bus stop, on the bus, but as I'm imagining you doing this with the crystal ball with an adult, you get to see that sparkle in their eye. You get to see that inner child, that awe and amazement come out in these adults. That must be so contagious for you.
Oh, we have a great time. And I performed close-up magic at Barack Obama's inaugural ball in D.C. And so we have people who've received the Purple Heart covered with medals, some of them missing legs, right? And then we're able to meet them, look them in the eye. And that's what magic has given so many gifts. There's so many things I can say about magic. Magic will sculpt you. Magic makes you into a real magician because you have to live it. At least that's been my experience. And to be able to see everyone in the world is kind of, I can meet them because I'm used to going into a completely strange situation, and I'm the one who has to make the party. So I greet them and I say, "How you doing?" And this is a fun little tip. Like one tip is like if they call it burning your hands. If I'm doing a double lip with a deck of cards and someone's quote looking at my hands and burning my hands, I say their name. Like I'd say Sharon, and your eyes would look right up at me, and then I would do the move. right? And
Wow.
so that's a technique. But another technique that's my favorite is I love to ask people, couples, how they met. And they alchemically turn into puddles as soon as I ask them how they met. And it disarms them because then because they love, we love love. Everyone loves love,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so there's many gifts to be found in this career.
And so you're saying that you ask the couple how they met when they're burning your arm?
Oh no, I just use the example if someone's burning my hands, I'll say their name and they
Got
look
it.
up at me. And that's just a fun little tip, but I'm far more powerful engaging, related ways is to connect because that's what I'm as a magician
Yeah.
do. I connect people to each other and I remind them about their love. So I much prefer that.
I like that tip because it actually, I can see how for a magician that's so relevant. They're burning your arm. You're like, you need them to not look at right there.
Right.
But
So you
even,
misdirect.
yeah, but even just as a person who's holding space and speaking and not doing magic up there, I can see how sometimes if somebody's doing something for you, when you as the performer need them to look somewhere else, boom, what's your go-to in that moment?
Right. There's a million trillion ones. You say their name, you misdirect, you ask a question.
Well, as a magician, that for you, it's like, I got a million of them. For the rest of us, we're like, wait, I'm not sure how to do that.
Yeah, being a female magician has also been difficult. Being a full-time female magician, people think, oh, it's easy for you because you're a female, and frankly, not necessarily.
Wait,
I've
who
competed.
thinks that? What's easier for us? Tell me. Please, somebody tell me.
People say, oh, you're a female, so you'll get hired more. And frankly, it's kind of not like that. And frankly, what I love is that it's often people will hire regarding skill, which is great.
Yeah.
In the magic community, I've competed many times, and there's this whole conversation. It's tough to get. It's I don't know. I think I'm gonna retract that statement that it's tough as a female magician. I would have to say it's more difficult just doing it full time. But there are far few female magicians. Most magicians you'll meet out there do have jobs. They're dentists. They're high tech guys, and that's great for them because they're doing it in a way that works for them. So I totally appreciate that as well.
Well, I mean, the whole idea of this show is to inspire, people, probably primarily women are going to be listening, but to inspire anybody. If you've got a unique gift, you are meant to be using it. And that's why I'm interviewing people. And that's why I'm interviewing you right now, because you went for it. You have a unique gift, such a unique gift. And you went for it. And now you've got this way where you tailored it with the intention of, I want to make the world a better place. That's amazing. And I guarantee there are people listening who are in a similar situation and need to hear about those of us who have made that step. So, I take my hat off for you having the courage to do this full time and to really step into your gift.
And it's added this amazing gift, like doing the close-up magic for 25 years. I'm an intuitive. There's an effect where you look at people's energy, and then there is an effect involved. But all these years of doing it, I get so much information, and people cry with me because no one has gotten them that way.
Yeah.
Like there was just recently, I was doing this event, and this man was just being flamboyant and kind of slightly disrespectful, and it was fine. And I looked at his energy, and I could have cried. I said, "You have the most pure heart I've ever seen, and you have to have all these facades because you're so open. You were like the most," and he wept with me.
Oh.
And that happens a lot when I look at people's energy. And I guess that's what I want to say to people listening is like, there's so much more going on subtly that most humans are wounded explorers, because, we're human. And I love this idea that God loves sloppy work. We're all doing the best we can, right? And so that we're stepping out here, facing our fears, good on us that we're doing. And I'll say that when I look at mostly I do read women's energy when I'm helping them with their business. And what I found is the thing blocking most women in business is that they haven't received their full majesty yet. And it's like a faucet on top of their head that the drain is clogged. And I do a lot of work of visualizations. I take people on activations where they meet their future self. They do that, and their future self will tell them, the block. But usually it's like they have, for the universe to get that flow going, they have to really receive their majesty and acknowledge all they've done and how amazing they are. And then it opens up. And the second thing that I see a lot is I look at the genealogy of families, and a lot of women out there are pulling forward 7 generations as an agreement they've made to pull that family line forward. And there are some agreements they can shift. They can cut cords, or they can acknowledge how they can complete that and realize they already completed that task. So there's a conversation that one can have of just acknowledging how far they've come and also completing agreements with their line, their ancestral line, because that's in our blood.
Oh yeah, and what I love again is this embodiment that you have of, magic is my vehicle, but here's all the things I bring with me. I can read your energy. I want to pour love into you. I want to make sure you do this. I had to let you bring in all these other things, and magic has been your vehicle to do that. But it's so important for us. I think a lot of us out there have more than one gift, and we choose one to become our way that we communicate, our way that we connect. But all the experiences and all the things that we collect along the way, they all play a role in this.
Yeah, and the exciting thing is when I speak to corporations and leaders, I help them. I use magic to bring them out of their lizard brain into their wizard brain.
Nice,
and I talk about, isn't that great? I love that. And actually that actually I didn't read that somewhere. And what I talk about how Navy SEALs are trained and how the advertising industry is just so precisely aimed to trigger your addictions and to trigger your negative thinking, and how it's this kind of flow that, that we as women, the Dalai Lama said, is the Western woman who will change the world, right? We can get it back.
So I want to switch gears a tiny bit. In my entrepreneur program, I often talk about 3 things that I consider are not just keys to success, but keys to fulfillment as a conscious woman entrepreneur. And we've covered actually 2 of them, but I just want to go over them real briefly. One is to build a business around your unique set of skills and gifts, which you have done, check. The second is connect to the universe, see if you're getting that universal support. That is the way that we have the courage to go into those unknowns and out of our comfort zone, which you have done. And now I want to talk about the third leg of the stool, which is just the straight up business skills, right? So You've got the unique skills, you've got the gifts, you have the courage to bring it to the world, and the universe has your back. Oh my God, now you're a business owner. How have you navigated that? Did you find yourself feeling the need to learn all this stuff yourself, like accounting and database management and marketing and so forth? Or have you found a system for it or delegate? Like, tell us how you've navigated that part.
Yeah, that's been soul scorching, that bit, because I have PTSD and ADHD, and it's been really tough. And I've worked with lots of business coaches. Katarina Rondo is a great coach. Laura Gisborne, when you work with her, 10% of all you pay goes to a charity of your choice. So there's a whole new model. Some wonderful coaches out there, but I've had to do a lot myself in that. And I love to memorize things. So when I go to the gym in the morning, I have 10 sets of 5 points each that I run at the gym. And just for an example, like one of those 5 is I say, I check, how are my administrative procedures, my financial program, my marketing plan, my sales process, my deliverable product. So there you are, procedures, admin, finances, marketing, sales, and deliverables. That's, and so I check in, how are all those doing? And so, for example, the last 10, I say, I look at how are my systems, my team, where's my innovation, how's my delivery, what are my best practices? How's my marketing machinery? I have a CRM I could share. My networking, did I write today? Did I get out there and either speak or network? And then what am I up to today? So I have these like 50 of these little points that I run through that just keeps me in my grid. Others don't have to work that hard, but since I have, a little bit of focus stuff, that helps me. but there are just great resources out there. And yeah, you need a CRM, or at least I do. You can do it with Google Drive and an Excel sheet. You don't have to spend a ton, but to get those not yeah, to get those email sequences, set up, it makes
Mm-hmm.
it easier. Working with VAs, I have a VA in Italy that we did a year, and so we transitioned. I'm looking for another VA right now. But yeah, you need assistance, you need a team, and luckily we're in a gig economy now, so you can have a virtual team.
Mm-hmm.
And what a lot of people in business do, and I've been guilty too, is we spend a lot of money on training. We get stuck in the training trap instead of making those sales calls, right?
Nice.
Thousands and thousands. And so really, what's your revenue generating activities? And have you done those, either 90 minutes to 3 hours of sales calls today?
Got it.
Before you've worked, gone to Facebook and maybe engaged, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, worked, done. I spent a lot of time researching serums, and I finally found one for a small business that worked for me. It's called 17 Hats. It's clunky like they all are. But it's not. It's very reasonable. It's like 1 month of Infusionsoft is a year of 17 Hats.
So, one thing that I'm hearing there is that, yes, you have your own kind of checklist that you run through to make sure, things are all in place, but that you've reached out for help. It sounds like you have several business coaches, you have some VAs, you have your team of help. Even though it's the gig economy, it's still you reaching out and not kind of thinking you have to break your back and be the master of all domains.
Yeah, and I have a mastermind group with my Women in Consulting Association, and I have an action partner. We connect every day.
Mm.
We really need accountability. I think especially as women, because we relate relational beings, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, team is important.
Yeah, team is important. I think that what I heard there is, I mean, you obviously are a firecracker. Anybody who's listening, and we have like, blah, 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 blah. There's such a fire in your soul that I feel, and I personally would love to see your magic. Which P.S. brings me to the next topic of, if somebody does want to see your magic or have you come to their department or their gala, or attend your workshop, how do they go about that?
Oh, sure. Just go to heathermagic.com. And you can check out stuff. I have an Abundance in Action teleconference program. It's a 4-week program, and I'm going to launch that in the next few coming months. That doesn't have a date yet, but just lots of opportunities to get the love either through the magic or through some training, some team building.
Mm-hmm. And so, if an individual, so it sounds like you do things like that Abundance in Action. That's over the phone.
Yeah, that's a group call
Okay.
over the phone.
Okay. And all of this is at heathermagic.com.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So, my least favorite part of every one of these calls is when it has to come to an end. But before we sign off, I just, I always like to open it up and offer for you, the person who we're talking to offer words of wisdom to anybody who might be listening. And, you've got a variety. Some people are just about to step into their own businesses. Some people have been doing it for a long time and are in the process of realigning and potentially changing their product. Like, what words of wisdom would you like to share with our listeners?
I have two pieces I would very much love the opportunity to share.
Yeah.
As a mind magician, I know the pain that people feel when they're locked in their emotional body, habit compulsion, self-criticism. It's unbearable sometimes. So I would like to offer a quote by Ramana Maharshi. And the third line of this quote is the kicker. And it's your key to freedom. And I'll read it twice because the first time you're going to say what, and the second time you'll get it. And he says, and this was in the book Autobiography of a Yogi. You'll find it there. But he says, dualities and trinities on something do hang. Supportless, they never appear. That support searched for, they loosen and fall. There is the truth who sees that never wavers. So he's saying just the act of searching for what these things are hooking on is going to free you. So I'll read it again really quickly. Dualities and trinities, meaning all the hooks that are coming at us, all the stings and arrows, they hang on something. Supportless, they never appear, meaning this is all mindset. This is all just one energy vibrating, right? that support searched for, they loosen and fall. Who sees that never wavers. So when you're in a pain, like when a client is unhappy and wants their money back or something, see that as a hook and search for what it's hooking on. And you'll find it's hooking on something in the reptilian brain, some pattern that's just a matrix, and let it melt away, because we're all just energy. And the last thing I'd like to say is Amaji is a hugging saint from India, and she'll sit and hug for 30 hours straight, and I've seen many miracles around her. And I once sat for 10 hours watching her hug to learn about love. And the three things I learned about love are the three things that we can bring to our business, and that is love knows what it's doing, love meets them where they are, and love gives them what they need. And if you're doing that with yourself and your business, you are the living embodiment of love.
Love, my new favorite word. I mean, it's not new really, but it's a word that it's just like you said when you were talking to the person who was hiring you for the Hillary Clinton event. I think when we show up with unabashed commitment and conviction to love, boom, it's right there. Just like the second you said that, you're hired. Come on over. Right. I just love the embodiment and the conviction around love. So thank you for sharing that quote. That's beautiful.
It's been an absolute privilege.
Heather, thank you so much for being here and for doing your work and just for following your heart. You are such an alive version of a human, and we need that right now. So thank you for just being you.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for being you, girl.
and of course, for being here. And I will just close by saying that for me, it is such a treat to be able to bring forth women like Heather, this caliber, this level of inspiration, because I can imagine it going through your earbuds, to your ears, to your heart, ultimately into action, ultimately making the world a better place. And I cannot think of a better way to use my unique gifts. So with that, I am signing off. Thank you so much, Heather, again for being here, and we will reconvene in a week. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I hope you feel inspired and connected and alive. And hey, if you enjoyed the show today, leave us a review. And if you want more, you can also find us online at thesavvyspirit.com or on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Okay, my friends, it is time to say goodbye. I wish you a good night, a good morning, a good day, wherever you are on this earth. I wish you well, and I'll see you next week.